Is it wrong or is it right for Christians to invest in the stock market? Hi, welcome to Little Lessons. We're continuing from our previous little lesson, questions about investing in the stock market, something that is widely practiced because, at least from a natural standpoint, it certainly does make a lot of sense to save money for the future. Now, I began to speak yesterday, discuss a little bit the whole idea of saving. We have to question why we would be saving. You have to be saving for a legitimate reason. If you're just piling up treasures on this earth so that you can just grow your wealth and enjoy more, that's a questionable practice. But investing a portion of what you earn to guard against the future and the eventualities of old age is extremely wise and could be considered, again, as I said yesterday, an act of love towards the people that you love, so you're not a burden upon them. But there are other valid reasons to save. You may be saving to start a future business in which you need some startup capital. And boy, doesn't it make sense to save and earn interest and dividends than it does to borrow money and pay interest? You know, that makes that shows some self-discipline, some prudence. And then when the time comes, you have enough money, some capital to start a business, because every business, generally speaking, needs some capital to start, even the smallest business. If you're gonna have a lemonade stand, you gotta have the water and the lemonade, the lemons, okay? And you gotta have a little table. So you know, that being said, there's legitimate reasons to save for business. But again, if you're not submitted to God, if you're just trying to save money to start a business so you can grow filthy rich and live a life of luxury, no, that's wrong. That's very, very wrong. But if you're trying to save so that you can start a business and support your family and help your kids get a start in life and you know, take some of the earnings from your business, and as much as possible, if God blesses it and you work hard enough, that you could give a whole lot for the sake of God's kingdom, well, that's praiseworthy, that's virtuous. So it all comes down to what's really in your heart in this case. You could also save purely to give, and that's New Testament right there, okay? I just pulled up a verse in the Bible from the 16th chapter of 1 Corinthians where Paul's writing about a collection that he's taking amongst all the churches for the very poor and struggling saints there in Jerusalem. And he writes in 1 Corinthians 16:1, "Now concerning the collection of the saints, as I directed the churches of Galatia, so do you also. On the first day of every week, each one of you is to put aside and save as he may prosper, so that no collections be made when I come." So what he's saying is, I'm going to be coming by in a few months, and if you guys save weekly from what you earn every single week, when I come, you know, it'll be a huge blessing, and I can take your gift then to Jerusalem. So that's an illustration of saving money in order to be a blessing, to give money, to serve others. And you can do that in the short term or the long term, as in the example I previously made. Starting a business at some point in the future, having the business capital to start up, you have to save to get there. But your ultimate goal is to be a blessing. Maybe you can one day be a millionaire and you can give away millions of dollars and lay up lots of treasure in heaven. So you can see that saving money could be on the path to laying up, you know, more treasure in heaven, which is what Jesus wants us to do, and what, of course, all followers of Christ want to do. All right. So there are valid reasons to save, but regarding the stock market again, it's not a short-term investment. If you want to invest in the short term, you know, like you're saving up to buy a car in 2 years, I wouldn't personally recommend the stock market. Because there's a chance, you know, you could lose money, and nobody wants to lose money, and God, I don't think, wants us to lose money. So don't think of the stock market. Now, people try to beat the stock market. One of the ways to do it, of course, is to spread your investment out over the entire stock market. These are called index funds, where you basically are investing in the top 100 companies, biggest companies in North America, for example. And those are actually the safest and, in one sense, the smartest mutual funds to invest in. But the trouble is, as I mentioned on our previous little lesson, you're very likely to be investing in a few companies that what they're doing doesn't please God. All right, so I'm not encouraging investment in index funds, but I am certainly encouraging, if you're going to invest for the long term, and spread out your investment. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. People also try to beat the stock market by predicting the future, and there's lots of really, really smart people who spend that's their business, trying to figure it out. And the next thing they're trying to figure out is how to convince you that they can predict the future. None of them can. And this year's great stock picker is often next year's major loser, because he can say, well, last year my investments returned 100%. I doubled my money, so listen to me. Well, it wasn't because he was so smart. It was because he was so lucky. And luckiness has a way of turning into unluckiness, right? So my advice is, to be conservative, investing in companies that have proven track records that, are definitely providing goods and services that benefit people, and they're evolving with the times, and the stock value goes up and they're paying the dividends. You think about it, what an opportunity it is to be an owner, a part owner of a business that is providing goods and or services for which people are willing to pay a fair price. And it's the investors that make it all possible, right? All the blessing that comes from an economy, a functioning economy, comes from the people who've invested, who are part owners in those companies. So for people to say carte blanche, it's wrong to invest your money, that'd be like saying it's wrong to participate in a functioning economy. No, it's the investors that make it all possible. Those are the people who consume less than what they earn. So they're living below their means, as it were, but seeing the wisdom in preparing for the future, and at the same time having the blessing of participating in a functioning economy, which blesses everybody in that functioning economy. All right, well, that's enough. This is a little lesson. There's so much could be said about this, but I thought I'd just give you my 2 cents. Thanks for listening.